Hi guys, this is Cindy from Part-Time Permies, and I see a few people in the room so far. Tina and Kiri and Kara. Mike's in the other room getting water. We literally just walked in the door. So we don't have many pictures prepped or anything, although I will say if you go out and close the chickens, if you can upload to Lightroom while you do that,
okay.
I might be able to live upload some pictures as we go because we've had a very busy day. So yeah, thanks.
I don't know if that's going to screw up your speed on your.
I don't think it should. It's working now. So we were starting out with a pretty low bit rate on speed, but we seem to be working okay at the moment. So I do apologize if things bounce around, but we have a wiggly little one here. So there's a cat who's walking around behind. Yeah, where did the kitty go? And where's Helix? She doesn't want to face the screen because the cat's back there. But I hope everyone's had a great 4th of July and a very good July or June since we've seen you last. It's been a busy month. We did a lot of gardening. I have a lot of pictures on Instagram, but since we literally just walked in the door, I don't have a lot of pictures set up here right now, but I can try to get things going here in a minute. Mike's going out to close the chickens, and we'll be in a moment. So just checking on the chat. Carrie says she has chick hatching right now. Been trying to get out of that shell since yesterday. Must be exhausting. Yeah, Tina's right. Make sure it has moisture. You moved fluffies today. Sometimes I haven't had to help a chick hatch. I do know that some people, if it takes too long, will like take a pair of tweezers and help it out, but it might not make it if it's not really hatching, if it's taking too long to hatch compared to other chicks. But yeah, well, you can leave it alone and see as well. And here goes my bit rate. Okay, let's take a pause. I'm going to do a little pause and do a restart of my program that's bouncing around in bit rates because I'm thinking this is, again, a program issue, potentially, not necessarily a internet program. Internet issue. And, okay, wiggly one. Let's see what we could do here. I'm going to restart this program real quick, so it will hold on a moment. Okay. We'll see if this works better. We had internet issues, and it might have been an OBS issue because it looks like our connection is a lot better this time.
Yeah, good.
So, did Bella go foraging?
Yep.
Yes, she did. And I know there's a bit of a delay here right now on our internet, so I'm just making sure it catches up and works all right. Yep, looks good. Okay. So yes, Bella went foraging with us. She spent the whole time in the backpack, ended up falling asleep halfway through. So she did really well. She loved riding in the backpack, so she does not complain about that hardly at all.
Bugs weren't bad at all, actually.
No, they weren't that bad. Although bad, I had a mosquito net over her like I do in the garden, but they really weren't that bad out there, which was really nice. Okay. Carrie said she has a chick who's been taking over a day to hatch, making progress today. Okay, humidity is rising there. And Tina says that she's moved her fluffies today, the silkies, I take it. Bedtime, a storm knocked down the net. They were looking for their house in the old spot. Oh, yeah, that does happen if you move them. And
all our birds were in bed correctly tonight.
Yeah, we have our silkies moved into the rooster with the rooster in the silky coop 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. And they took about a week to really figure out that that was the coop they were supposed to go to.
Chase them and pick them up and toss them in there and close the door and go get the rest of them.
Yep. Hi, Lisa. So we don't have a heck of a lot of pictures unless I can multitask and do this, but we'll talk about our foraging today. We have almost the entire garden planted.
Some of it's getting ready to move into late season, second round.
Second round planting, fall and winter crops.
We've
should be
turned,
going
yeah,
in
we've
now.
turned everything and created beds everywhere.
We only have 2 beds that
except
aren't
for
planted.
the potato beds we haven't touched, which will be late season. They're going to be ready to turn in another few weeks probably.
Yeah. So yeah, just in a couple weeks, probably they'll be ready to harvest, and we can put,
Yeah.
fall crops in there, maybe some greens and whatnot. So sorry for the screech. Somebody wants her daddy.
Hello.
She is wide awake right now. She took a nap in the backpack while foraging. While I was hiking, we were basically bushwhacking, so we got to go through that story a little bit. And I do have video recording of that trip with Nobby again. So that was fun. We haven't done that in a long time, it seems. It's just a small group. So basically a business group.
Yep. Had a bunch of mostly all my employees.
Yeah.
Part-time employees and some of their family. And we did a sort of a private, sort of an intermediate forage, because this is not great foraging weather. We've been dry for almost 2 weeks. We're getting hot, which means that things are getting tougher and thornier and less desirable for edible tenders. And mushrooms aren't really present, but in a very limited places. However, there are things that are available year round, and there are summer things, and there's some roots, and there's plenty to look at. So you can always forage. It's just not as premium. So we were talking about some of how to use things for medicinals, how to take care of bug bites and poison ivy. We were looking at wetlands. We were looking for cool bugs and birds and whatever else.
Try to see if we could see any endangered things. So it was a goal.
Kind of a mix of an intermediate and advanced, and kind of everybody was food driven, and so it was kind of a fun group. It was a little different.
And had little potluck type party at the end of it.
We brought out a bunch of food. A bunch of us all brought food items, and
of course Nobby had her kimchi and all that too, so that was really good. But yeah, so we had a really fun day on that trip. Triple digits down there. Oh my goodness. There's no way I could live that for
We've been in the low 90s. We're plus or minus about 90 for a high. We're going to be going about a 3-week run, I think.
Yeah.
We got about most of another week looking like we're going to be 89 to 92. We've had some closer to mid 90s, low to mid 90s for highs. It's a little bit of humidity, so it's been a sustained hot spell for end of June, beginning of July. That's the farm fields are getting a little dry. So
yeah, and was not too much rain the last couple of weeks. So
we've got the water table is really high. That's the problem. We need the water table to go down, but we need enough surface water to keep growing. So
yeah.
And we talked about, I think a month or so ago, that we had a late frost. Yeah.
We are bouncing. There we go. Back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, we had a late frost freeze that took out many plants. So no walnuts, very few acorns probably, limited chestnuts. Lots of the apples and peaches have been completely burned. There's nothing. Some of the cherries have been damaged. I think Traverse City or somebody said the Cherry Fest was canceled. But that may be partly due to COVID as well as a bad cherry harvest. There are some cherries. We have a local cherry farm, and they have some sweets. Yeah. And strawberries were really good. They were 2.5 weeks, just finished up really fast, but they were sweet. And raspberries and brambleberries are coming on really strong over the next few weeks. As long as we get a little water, that's going to be good. But crops are really messed up from that freeze on the fruit world.
Yes, definitely. So. And I'm just looking at what we have in the chats here. Yeah. I didn't miss anything. Okay. So
Carrie, do you milk your goats once a day or twice a day?
do you do a kid share?
Because our friends, our friends only milk once a day. If I, yeah,
Yeah, a
I
lot of
just,
people kid share their goat.
yeah.
So they just do a once a day milking. But um, yeah. So what we did, what have we been doing? We just a week or two after our last live show, we had just gotten chicks last live show, right?
Yeah.
So
We butchered chicks.
we had butchered our first round of meat
30 some. That went
birds,
nice, went real well.
and we had gotten our next round of meat chicks along with 6 I'm blanking on the name. Plymouth Rocks. Barred Rocks. So yeah, she keeps throwing her toy down. It's the new thing.
It's just a bracelet.
Yes. Well, it's a chew toy. But she uh so we got those, and they were about 2 weeks old, doing great. We had 2 hens sitting on eggs, just about to hatch. As well. We had set them on eggs just before we got the chicks. And we lost all 36 meat birds. All 36.
Yep, never had that happen.
No. Someone had gotten into our winter coop. We've never lost birds to predators out of our winter coop. Now, it's not the most secure, I will say
It
that.
was in the run. Yeah, they had access to the run, and the birds were using the run and the coop.
Yeah, but
it's covered.
We had to fix it because there's a couple small gaps at the top. So it had to be it must have been a climbing animal. It killed everything, ate a lot, not all. Probably a raccoon, maybe. I know they would do that. I actually just heard tonight that mink in the area will take out a whole flock. Not Louis lost a bunch of chicks to about 100 chicks to mink.
Yeah,
and another 100 to raccoon. So yeah, both are nasty. So I think we had an issue with that.
Something came in overnight, middle of the night.
Good
By
climber.
6 in the morning, it was gone.
Yeah.
I couldn't even find some of the 36. I counted about 30, but some were almost completely eaten, and there were just some wings laying around. Others had just a head off or a bite in the back and were pretty much whole, and others were totally, half eaten, destroyed, all ripped apart. But they were just scattered, every single one. So we cleaned those out 2 weeks in. So we hadn't spent a lot of feed, but some money on the checks. We have new checks that showed up this week, and they seem to be doing all right. Got 30 more checks.
Yes. So 30 more chicks this week. We did not get the barred rocks this time. Back in the same coop, but I patched up the holes, so I'm hoping everything's
They didn't
secure.
dig under. There was nothing that showed to be dug under.
No. So I think it was a climber. I want to say probably a raccoon. A lot of the soil the woods next door to us are being disturbed.
They're disturbed, so they're moving around. They're looking for different things. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they're clearing some area to build a whole barn and a house coming up. So it's not clear cut, but they've definitely moved a lot of trees and soil.
Yeah. So they're we'll see. Hopefully I got it all secured up this time, because I don't want to lose another 30 chicks. They get expensive if you're going through them like that. And we did set up an order for a 3rd round of meat chicks, along with 6 barred rocks, at the end of the month. So we'll get these guys moved on to pasture in a few weeks. They're approaching. We just got them on Thursday, so they're only half week old. But we'll get them moved on to pasture.
Right about the time the new ones come in, we'll get them out early. Last ones we waited a little too long, but we're having some bad weather. The weather was just warming up.
Yeah.
And we'd had some really cold nights and stuff. In fact, we went through that freeze with them with the first set, I guess, before. So they went out probably 2 weeks later than they should have or could have.
Yeah, probably a week later at that time of year, but 2 weeks maybe when it's hot. Excited baby.
Yeah, we could we don't have electric net. It's a big area, but we could put something around there. But we also have overhanging trees off of the coop and actually from the barn, so an animal could jump from the roof areas and still get on the roof even if we had electrified at the ground. So
Yeah.
might
Might
help.
deter
Yeah,
some, but
I'm
it'd
not
be
sure that
hard.
would be the full solution, but getting the roof better secured. Yeah. Now I talked to one of the local one of the places I sell pasta to, and they're a natural meat farm, and they were telling me that they can't get anything processed until the end of July. That's their pork, their beef, and maybe lamb or whatever they have. They're backed up for getting their big meat processed, but they're doing tons of chicken. Well, they can't. They have 200 chickens they ordered, and within 2 or 3 days they all died. And they're like, "Well, what's going on?" They couldn't figure it out, and they found out that one of the mail rooms, U.S. mail that they passed through, I don't know if it was in transit or the local one, they were doing new sanitation procedures for COVID, and they had sanitized and fumigated the whole mail room with, I don't know, whatever it be, bleach or ammonia or something, some some chemical, not realizing or whatever that there were live chicks, and that they came in unhealthy and they quickly all died from whatever it was because they're day one when they're in the mail, so it took a heavy dose of chemical in day one. So they last 200 chicks. They're like, now we can't process heavy meat that's ready to go, and we don't have any chicks coming. And they're like, we're a meat farm, primarily. So so that
They're
was
having issues too.
they're scrambling too.
Yep. Just trying to see if I missed anything else.
So
Curing.
one day.
One day a week.
Yeah, one day. One feeding. One milking a day.
One milking
Yep,
a day.
and food forest permaculture is here.
Hello, hello. And
but yeah, we think we're back on track. We're getting just enough water between rain to keep things going. Our new fruit trees that we put in over the last month or two, plants and all that, most of them are doing pretty good. Our cold hardy pecans, neither one started at all, so that they were no goes, it appears. So we're gonna have to reorder and try and get the pecans maybe in the fall.
And our hot, dry weather did in the plum?
We had native plum or a bush plum or something. No, it wasn't the bush plum. It was just an old. Yeah, it was looking good, and it burned out in a matter of a day or two. We'd put some water on it, just a little bit, and it burned hard. So we need to keep an eye on the other ones and maybe dump some water. But we did get a little splash of water last night. Quick rain that our neighbors a mile and a half down the road did not get. They were very jealous and unhappy that we got like a quarter inch or an eighth of an inch, and they got nothing. They're crispy down the road.
So built on the rock said 2 ducks and 8 chickens have hatched so far. 4 birdie moms. Every time you look in the coop, different hen is on the final unhatched eggs. That's funny. I had 2 hens hatching out eggs, and they had 24 eggs, a dozen each, and I only got 10 chicks out of them. I think one was sitting tighter than the other on her nest, and when they sit more, they seem to hatch faster. Like my silkies will hatch in 19 days when they're sitting on their eggs. So the only problem with that is when you have them right next to each other, some start hatching, it might actually trigger the other mom to get up off the nest, and I believe I had 4 more that were trying to hatch, but both moms got off the nest. So I always like to split them up, but I didn't have room to split them up. So we got 10 chicks from the layer flock. We have the 30 meat birds now going. Second attempt at the second run, and then we have our garden pretty much planted. So it's been a busy month. I mean, all that's basically happened in this last month. And if you don't follow us on Instagram or on Facebook, then I don't have any pictures today because, like I said earlier, when we first got here, we just walked in the door. Literally, I sat down and set up this live show, so we had no pictures time today.
We've been doing markets. Our markets have done downtown markets and our other small market are doing pretty well, probably 80%, 75, 80% of a normal year, somewhere in that range. So I can't complain about them. People are coming out. Everybody's minding their business, and we're getting sales. It's kind of weird, different, slightly different people and changes, but it's been okay. So staying super busy with my business, and we're sending stuff all over the place, across the state, and more local shops, and a little bit of mail order. We're doing all that, and then we've got some of the restaurants have opened up again. They're at, is it 25%, 50% seating?
They
I don't
went
know.
up to 50. I think they may have cut back.
I don't think they've cut back
Did
on
they not?
restaurants.
They were at 50.
Bars, yeah, bars have closed.
Yeah.
Bars can only serve outside seating as of Thursday. We're starting to have some outbreaks north of us, and we've had some penetrance of some local bars, had staff that have come down with COVID, some that were visiting and doing stuff up north. So things aren't too bad here, but they're statewide, except for all the way up in the very northern tip and the UP have closed down indoor bar dining, and people are paying attention again. So we're kind of slowing down or moving backwards a little bit. But the restaurants that are open are extremely busy within their ability to seat and stuff. So I'm watching some friends go back to work and they're all trying to see if they can pay the bills and keep all those places open. So yeah.
Carrie's having a hard time getting seeds to sprout and sprouts to grow. Oh no, what's going on over there? Yeah, 9 duck eggs under a hen and 5 chicken eggs showed up under her, so never gave it to her. And duck eggs take longer to hatch than chicken eggs, don't they? I've never done duck.
They take a little
I want to say they're a week longer or so, because at least our geese were. Hi Bella. Yeah, somebody is very active for this late at night. She usually is going to bed at this late at night, but she took a nap while we were hiking in the heat, and she seems to be quite awake now. Whoa, sorry guys. I just saw that screech made everything go all the way up to red. Just don't blow out our speakers like Mike Pratt did to his. Yeah. Anyway, today's foraging, I did put some pictures up on Instagram that would have transferred over to Facebook page. So if you want to check out some early pictures, they're not of plants, they're more of us hiking, because their trails ended up being a little bit blocked. So we had to do quite a bit of bushwhacking today. So off trail and around trees and all of that, because about 2 weeks ago we had some really strong storms.
Yeah, Friday a week ago.
Was it just 1 week ago?
Yeah, it was a week ago. Friday night we had sheer winds come in very violently, dumped a lot of water, but sheer winds and a lot of lightning. There may have been tornadoes, they're not sure, but I actually saw satellite imagery kind of west of us and a little south, and there were whole patches of forest land that you could see all the trees pushed down, and mostly in straight line, but we were out, and unfortunately Bonamigo's farm got hit quite hard, much harder. I saw Louis the day after, and he's like, well, we're not so bad, but we heard that it was bad nearby in Lawrence and in the area. Well, they got into some of their wooded area, and we were in there, and they're old, large, 50, 60, 70-year-old hardwoods, and nice harvestable wood. Yeah. They use it for foraging and stuff, but it is there's tulips and there's poplar and there's lots of maple and oak and some walnut and some really, really nice wood there. Well, trees are just twisted in half and torn down, and lots of wood down. So that was kind of devastating, one, because you can't get through on their regular paths, but they really don't want to harvest a lot of that wood because they don't want to disturb the land. But if they knew it was all going to come down like that, they would have gone in and had them selectively cut out a lot of those big money trees and be able to pay bills for the farm with it. So a lot of that's going to go to waste. It's if you don't get on it really fast within a week or two and get it cleared, they don't want to take it to the mills that starts drying out and stuff. So
Yeah. So that was sad to see. Gave a little extra challenge to our forage because we're having to climb over trees, under things, and I, of course, had a baby in the backpack. Did fine with it, got through. There weren't too many brambles in the way, so on that end of things, it wasn't
Some
too
of this
bad.
is deeper, established forest, so the forest floor is fairly open. There's
Yeah,
stuff there, but it's fairly open, and now it's like clear blue sky, which is just crazy.
yeah.
We hadn't been through some of those areas, some of it for a year and a half. It'd been a while since we've been, but we recognize a lot of the areas, and it was hard to know where you were at. Even Nabi, it was her first time in some of those areas,
Since the storm.
and she's in there almost daily on a lot, and she just like didn't know where things were going and where to go, and
Yeah.
things were covered up, and yeah, just massive, 100-foot and taller trees.
Yeah, trees that are like 3 feet almost in diameter.
Yeah.
Some of them are
Some of them
down.
were twisted at the top, twisted all the way around. We saw a tulip tree that was, yeah, probably almost 3 feet in diameter, that they'd snapped it right at the root line, not pulling the roots out, but actually snapped. The trunk had a weakness and it popped right at the ground level,
Hmm.
halfway through the base, which was incredible. Some of them, of course, pulled all the way out of the soil, but some of them it twisted and snapped the tops right off.
Yeah. So Carrie said that they got hit by a microburst,
Basically, yeah.
and several huge oak trees were knocked over. Root ball was over 6 feet high. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
these root balls,
yeah, huge.
multiple root balls were well taller than us. Like they were probably some
Yeah,
of them
some of it,
7, 8
yeah.
feet
That
up
was only half the root ball in some of them because they'd just
because they
gone
were
over.
underground partially. It wouldn't say. Uh, so yeah, it was nuts how big these trees are. There was a root ball of 4 trees that went over. That all their roots must have been tangled up because all 4 went over and took out a huge section of ground.
Yeah,
So we actually traipsed through that area. It was hard for Nabi to see, and I guess Louis had gone back in there and looked at some of it, and they were just, devastated by it. It's all in their forest, in their natural forest. Nabi try to find a positive side. She said she was going to get a bunch of mushrooms from it in the next couple of
a
years
few
because,
years, but yeah, there was some good mushroom wood,
yeah,
but yeah, they had
Helix is
yeah,
wanting up.
but yeah, bad fruit year, bad nut year. Last year was such a messed up growing year from beginning to end. That wasn't a great year. So they've got a little bit of corn on the property, some contract corn on the property where there
Yeah.
used to be some grapes that were bought out. So yeah, putting the pieces together is not easy, and so it doesn't look like this is going to be an easy year either. Some
No,
of the fruits look like they're going to be a little better this year, but like most of their apples and pears and Asian pears,
are not
they're
doing it.
so little worth. I mean, they had like 50 red apples. Louis like, what's the point of spraying 50 apples when everything else is there's nothing. Yes, one type of Asian pears. He's got a little bit of the yellow ones, but people want the brown ones. But yeah, they have very very low amount of apple and pear activity, a little bit of grapes. So
Yeah.
so it's yeah.
So yeah, so that was, but then we got to hang out with them for a while, so it was good. It was all
But we all
friends.
had fun. Yeah, we had a
Yeah, so all friends there,
bunch of Korean specialties and foreign specialties.
and a I would say courageous chef, not the cook who actually made spring rolls for an Asian woman.
Made pork and well, and we'd been playing around. He had been playing
Yeah,
around with
that was good.
some pork and shrimp wonton or pot stickers earlier and froze some of it down, and so he made a bunch of spring rolls and made some homemade sweet chili sauce.
With the same stuffing.
Yep, and the sweet chili dip and stuff. And so I was like, and Korean is different than Chinese spring rolls,
Yeah.
but these were. It's like, yeah, it's pretty gutsy though, but they were good. They were
really
made
good.
properly. They were tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought some short ribs from another farm, from Carlson Farm. Had done some sous vide short ribs, which I seared down, and we made some potato salad. I made some bread,
Good night,
some
food
Italian
forest.
bread, and we made some. Well, I started out making a caponata, but then I threw a whole bunch of other vegetables in, really made it into like a jardiniere. So I made a bunch of quarts of Jardiniere for
Everybody.
us to eat, and then for people to take with them. And so,
Good.
yeah,
Hi, Miranda.
got Miranda here.
Yeah. So, Tina got to eat her peaches this weekend.
We're early, and we're gonna have bad peach here, but
Yeah.
another few weeks. Cherries just popped last week. This week.
Yep. So, yeah, and we have no apples on our trees. We were surprised about that. And then
Louis
Louis
doesn't
said he doesn't have any apples on his
And
tree.
I was looking at his nut trees. I'm looking at his black walnuts, and his English walnuts,
And
and
they don't
his
have any leaves on them.
chestnuts, and we had all of our leaves come off.
The top
And
half
then,
of the tree.
yeah, and they're growing back, and we're like, hey, Louis, I don't see any nuts. Because there's no nuts. I said, we don't have any either. Our neighbor said they don't have any. So, right as all those little seeds, all the little sprouts had taken off the tops of the tree, at least, if not the whole
The
thing,
last frost
got
killed
frosted off, and they had
Yep.
to restart, but they didn't reflower and pollinate. So yeah, no walnuts in this area.
it. Yeah. So it was kind of a sad but fun day in a way. A little bit of mix, but and a little bit of a challenge. It was a good exercise day, and this one wanted to be all a part of it. And still seems to want to be all a part of it. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm hoping that everybody else had a great month. And if there's any food questions, like I said, we didn't really prepare any specific topic tonight.
Yeah, we did. We've been so much on working on the yard and the garden, and just keeping up with stuff. And I've been making crazy pasta all month, and we're getting closer to caught up.
Oh, I did get 2 videos out.
Yeah,
in the last couple weeks. Only 2. I didn't get one a week done like I was hoping to, but I did get a June garden tour done, and the other one was the one I released last night. Hey, girl. Which was the big move, which was moving the chickens. It was actually 2 weeks ago, but we moved them across the entire back around the garden to the front. So that released last night. I know that was on the 4th of July, so not the best timing to release a video, but you guys can check it out if you're interested, if you haven't already.
We've got a pop-up thing Thursday night. We have so our farmers market does something called night market, third Thursday. It's usually third Thursday of the month.
Yeah.
This is weird because I guess it's second Thursday of the month. But it's going to be a virtual night market, and they're going to do a Facebook Live for 2 hours, and they're going to do introductions of vendors and talk about what they make and sort of their story and where you might be able to find their stuff at the market or otherwise. In little 2-minute segments, they're going to do some music and some 15-minute demonstrations from some of the companies. I was asked to do a 15-minute demonstration, so that's going to happen from
6 to 8.
No, well, the thing is 6 to 8. We're slot, I think 7:08 to 7:25, something like that, for our part, and then we'll probably be on Facebook Live.
Oh, girl, you're sending it out
with it. So that's a local event, but if you want to see, we're gonna actually a little preview, talk about how to finish pasta sauces in the pan. So how you would in a restaurant finish them and bring out the maximum flavor while you're getting your pasta ready and getting it on the plate.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do that from my pasta kitchen Thursday. So that's part of Can Do, CAN-DO kitchen, Kalamazoo, and there's probably a Facebook Live group event posted somewhere. So if you wanna see that and put a note in for that, and we'll be in the second half of it. But we'll probably be hanging out I'll be hanging out for most of that on Thursday, 6 to 8.
How do you smoke veggies?
How do you smoke veggies? Yeah.
There's a question for you.
You can smoke veggies. And Bella's eyes, it's hard to tell because
they're still blue right now.
Yeah, they could be changing a lot, but now they're still blue.
They're still blue. They pick up accents from around her a little bit, but I'm guessing by 1 year old they should be on their final color.
Yeah, a little more time to know if they're really going to
If they're
be.
going to
Yeah.
stay blue or not. But yes, they're still blue. But how do you smoke
Yeah,
veggies?
smoking veggies. So most veggies need to be cooked. Some need to be cooked a lot, like a carrot or a root vegetable. So you can moderate heat smoke them. Now, some things like a little water to break down. That's why we boil. We use moist heat. We steam or boil. So some things it's a little harder um, to get them to break down, but we can roast vegetables and everything. So I think um, they can just be put on the grill at a moderate heat. Other vegetables like zucchini cook very fast, so you can use a higher heat. But if you use a high heat, you don't get a lot of smoke. So if you use a low heat, 140 degrees or whatever, or a cold smoke, you can leave them on there, and you can definitely, put a little salt and pepper or seasoning or whatever you like, and you can get a little bit of smoke. I would brush them with a touch of oil because smoke likes to grab onto things, and if a surface is too wet, the smoke it likes a sticky surface. It doesn't want to adhere. So I think brushing them lightly with a nice, little olive oil or something, touch of salt would be fine. Um, and you can kind of quick grill them or slower smoke them. Now if you cold smoke, which is indirect heat, you have a heat source off to the side, and you're pumping smoke into a box. Then you can cool or cold smoke almost anything. You can seafood, cheese, hard cheeses, things that would melt otherwise. Then you can do and that sometimes you have to refrigerate it so that it stays safe, but you can actually impart smoke under refrigeration. But I think for vegetables, you just kind of grill smoke them, and yeah, it's nice. But you can smoke whole vegetables, whole squash, whole tomatoes, let them break down. You can also if you're afraid they're going to stick or fall through the racks on a smoker or a grill smoker, you can put them on a sheet pan because that whole um, that whole box fills with smoke. It'll still grab smoke on most of the surfaces, maybe not the bottom where it's sitting. You can do things like make cornbread or macaroni and cheese or even desserts, cobbler, and you can put it in a smoker, and it can be like a peach cobbler in a smoker with a touch of smoke. Isn't going to be for everybody, but that, if done carefully and not over smoked, can be pleasant. I think so. You could actually put things on a sheet pan or in a dish and finish it and impart some smoke while cooking. Sort of baking it. So yeah.
I think someone's trying to get tired. Finally getting tired. Yeah, Miranda's gonna make your pasta and vodka
Your
sauce.
husband can't smoke them. Why is he too busy smoking meat? Is that I guess meat's my preference, but yeah, you can smoke tomatoes are amazing. You can kind of like smoke dehydrate, let them break down.
Summer squash.
I've never grilled cucumbers. Now, I have grilled peaches. Grilled peaches over ice cream, grilled plums, which I think are even better than peaches. I've actually grilled avocados, so ripe, but on the firm side of ripe. I didn't think that was possible. They're like, oh yeah, I grilled the avocados. I'm like, I thought it was a joke, but um, it's okay. You can get a quick grill mark. There's a lot of fat in there, so you got to be careful on the heat, and again, not too ripe, but you can, and then not so unripe it's unpleasant to eat. But yeah, you can impart. You can grill squash is really nice, or like chayote. Out west, you use more chayote than, although we have some chayote here. That's pretty nice. You can also grill something and then you can chop it up and puree it, make it into a soup or make it into a. Um, so I think there's a lot of options.
And it's nice to be able to cook something outside of the kitchen in the summer.
Yeah, and then so you can do a lot with vegetables.
Yeah.
And imparting smoke. You can also, I buy a natural hickory smoke that basically they create a natural hickory smoke. They impart it in oil, the flavor in oil, and then they mix tapioca maltodextrin, which basically turns oil into a powder, into like a spreadable spice rub powder. So it's pretty expensive, but I have a nice hickory smoke. So you can use that to bolster natural smoke in a marinade or in a dish, or if you don't have the opportunity to smoke it, you can do that. Like I do some smoked pasta. I'm not smoking the pasta. I use that natural hickory smoke. I also use some smoked paprika. Spanish smoked paprika, high quality from Spain or equivalent. is amazing. The sweetness and savory and the subtle smokiness. It's very different than a hickory or stronger
Hmm.
smoke. You can put that stuff in anything. I put it in with seafood. Gives a nice little paprika color, but the flavor is incredible. So that's my secret weapon when I need good smokiness. Is smoked paprika.
Apparently, he smoked meat and veggies yesterday. The meat was good, but the veggies
Well, at
not so.
least he paid attention to the important stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure you season the veggies. I mean, you can put a Cajun rub on, or a little salt, pepper, a pinch of onion granulated and garlic granulated. I like 2 parts onion to 1 part garlic. Don't go too heavy on those. Um, but you could put a little Cajun spice or a little Montreal spice rub. Create some flavors on top of just smoking them and make sure they're seasoned, but they should be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Oh, and Bella did try a new food today.
Yeah.
She tried eggplant from your jardiniere.
Yeah. So that was a roasted eggplant. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. I had that on your what was the sourdough bread you made?
It was a semolina sourdough.
Yep.
So it's a little coarser, denser, chewier. It's Italian favorite using partial semolina flour to make loaf bread or rolls.
That was really good as well. So awesome. Awesome food, awesome company. And do we have any
Navi
other?
made incredible kimchi. She had spicy sesame leaves. She had some foraged duck,
Yeah.
and yeah, a bunch of spicy things. She
Yeah.
did some really.
The doc was really
She
good.
cooked some really good stuff.
Yes. Um,
She makes up a marinade like lots of Korean people do that has some soy and a touch of fish sauce and some sesame seeds, some chili paste or gochujang, a little bit of oil, and I don't know what, a couple of other things, but and that's sort of a catch-all. And then you can add things or take things away. Usually has some onion product in it, and you marinate all kinds of veggies or meat in that. And let me tell you, that marinade you can do anything with it. It's incredible.
Carrie's been doing most of her cooking outside lately whenever possible in the sun oven, which would be a cool toy to play with someday.
We've actually been having sun much of the time for the last week or two.
Yeah, this time of year in July we get a lot more
Yeah.
sun. But yeah, and we're not like Seattle that has rain
We just
most of
have
the
cloud skies way most of the time, but
year. Yeah.
partial cloud or full
Um,
cloud.
Miranda says you're king of the bread. Uh,
I think we make a good bread. I mean, I could refine. I'm not a bread baker by trade, but
you like playing with it.
good recipes, good ingredients. We've got some proofing baskets and a basic stone in the oven. Our new stove creates an even better crust, a more even heating than the previous oven. Um, but yeah, it's a good sourdough starter. Good ingredients, and for kind of a country style bread, yeah, it's really good.
How much are the proofing baskets?
Oh, I can get them on Amazon for, I don't know, $8, $10, $12. They're overpriced for what they are, but they're not. I have 3 of them. I should probably buy another 1 or 2. So I have the round boule ones. You can get like one.
Can't see that.
You can get like one. The ones I usually do are about a kilo, so about 2.5 pound loaves. I think you might get a smaller one. You can get a really big one, but that's not really usable at home. And then you can get a loaf size one. It's like it's same kilo, 2 kilo, and it's bigger than a baguette, but it's like a nice kind of country loaf one. So I have one of those and 2 of the round boule ones. So what the reason you need a bread basket is when you're working with a high hydration, a wetter dough, um, it needs to rise, but it's too soft. It'll just keep spreading. So you need to contain it. Also, it's so sticky that once it rises, your ability to pick it up and slide it onto the stone is very difficult. 2 ways to do that. If it's a little firmer, you can put it on a baker's. It's like a cloth on a roll. It's a stand and it has a cloth like a conveyor, and you can roll it off onto the stone in the oven, and it will kind of peel it off onto the stone. But that's for commercial alternatives. You can use a bread basket, and you can turn it upside down, and that will allow the shape to come out. And you have 2 options. You have a linen cloth, which you flour and just keep reusing. That gives a smooth surface and can give you the country floured top. Or you can take that off if it's a little less wet, and it has the wicker basket, and it will leave little
Rings.
rings between the flour. And but if you work too wet on that, even with it floured, I find it sticks. So a lot of times I use the linen. But that's very traditional, and old style bake shops will just have hundreds or thousands of those proofing baskets. A lot more French imports. You can get ones that are plastic. Don't buy the plastic ones; they're crap. Get the real wooden wicker ones.
We have to do a giveaway. Would you
Okay.
like to give away a choice of 2 baskets versus 2 bags of pasta?
We could possibly do that. Yeah, I have to go look up where I got them, but I'm sure I can find them.
Yeah, yeah. So, I guess, let me see how many people are in here. We only have 10 people, 11 people in here.
Dog ate
So,
some sausage, huh? Yeah.
yes.
Well, I had 2 short ribs that were left on a plate, and right before I sat down for the live show, I turned my back on the counter. I'm like, I better put these in the fridge before Sleepy
Before,
Dog decides that, as well behaved as she is, that short ribs are way too attractive.
yeah, she has stolen a brisket before when we stepped out. She doesn't do it in front of us, but she does it when we step out and leave her for a minute, and that was off the countertop. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
but she can reach that easily. Um, but yeah, so what we could do is we can do a 2 basket um, versus 2 bags of pasta giveaway. Um, our giveaways are first person who answers the question correctly. I am actually just pulling up my notes.
Oh, Enchanted Refuge got here just in time for the giveaway.
Giveaway, yep,
I'm gonna have to stab at the question though.
yep. So, um, I'm trying to think of a question real quick. Oh, tired baby. Okay, so I guess what we'll do for the question. I have one. Okay, so what what the rule is the first person who answers the question correctly on our screen wins the giveaway. You have a choice between the 2 bread baskets or 2 bags of pasta from his pasta business. Um, the the question is, how many chicks did we lose when we lost our chicks a couple weeks
Oh,
ago?
that's kind of tough.
It is, but I did mention it.
Your dog's name is Prairie.
See how long it takes.
I think most dogs are sausage thieves.
How many
Yeah.
chicks did we lose when we lost the chicks a couple weeks ago?
Ah, okay.
Um,
Enriched Refuge
has been with us for a
has
little
been
bit.
hanging out.
Yeah.
Okay, 5. Oh, Tina,
No,
wild guessing there.
no, come on, guys. If you are not close,
Valerie D. Close.
not
That
quite.
was
We
one.
had 30 meat chicks, but that's not all
We
we
had some
had.
specialties in there too that came with the
Yeah.
order. There you
Oh, there
go.
you go,
Oh,
Tina,
Tina.
36.
She was just
36.
giving people a chance.
Tina, 36 chicks, correct. 30 meat chicks and 6
Layer.
Plymouth Rock
Yeah.
dual purpose breed. So Tina, you'll have to tell us if you would like the bread baskets or the pasta. If you'd like pasta, you
We
can.
can email the our what we're using for our sourdough recipe too.
Oh,
Getting sourdough starters to people is a little harder. Now the
we don't
recipe
have.
and
We
the
don't have.
recipe is not mine. It comes from Stefan,
Yeah,
who's a
friend of ours.
friend local.
And the sourdough starter, we don't have any dehydrated
Yeah,
that we
so
can send.
but
So.
I'm happy to send directions to anybody. If you send us an email, I will send you his directions. It will work with most sourdoughs, or to start your own. It's a rye sourdough that we use. It's a all rye starter, which we like.
Yep.
It's more nuanced than some.
Bread baskets.
Yeah, okay.
Awesome. So I believe we have your address, but if you want to just verify, send me a message through
So
Facebook.
I'll dig around and find what my source for baskets were. And I don't know, how about a round one and a long one? Does that sound good? Or you want 2 round or 2
Too long.
2 loaf?
Yeah, they're
based on what's available. I'll see what's available, but
yeah, that's true.
generally they're available.
Yeah.
I just gotta dig and find a good source again. I actually want to buy another one for me. So
Yeah, Miranda's met the chicks that we lost. So
Yeah, Miranda.
and she helped. Didn't she help catch some of the escapees?
Yeah, we did have some that
Yeah.
were sneaking out under the door. First couple days, we had a few escape and got
By
them
the
all
way,
back in.
Miranda is our nanny, so
Yeah,
um,
Miranda's been helping out a bunch with Bella, and so
yeah.
she's pretty familiar with things going on around here week to week.
Who has just crashed on my shoulder, by the way. With all that energy she was expending through most of the show, she is out. But we had a busy day out in fun in the. I was not in the sun, in the shade,
I
in the
say
woods.
Tina just Tina got a big order of pasta not long ago. All right,
Not
so
right.
I'll see what's good out there, Tina, as far as 2 baskets. Yeah, and they're fun. So usually they come with a natural linen. Do not wash the linen because the gluten really doesn't want to come out when you wash the linen.
Hmm.
It balls up and gets sticky and sticks to the linen. So you just keep flouring and reflouring and kind of shake it out if you want to, but you just keep flouring it.
Yep.
If it gets too wet and it gets really stuck or moldy, then I guess you're kind of stuck and you have to get a a new cloth to put in there of some sort. These just have a little elastic on them, but don't wash them. Just keep dry flouring them or crumbing them with whatever type of grain or whatever you want to finish with. And yeah, they're nice. That's one of the secrets that makes bread look super professional.
Yeah.
So a basic, you don't need a crazy good oven. A cheap pizza baking stone will do 1 or 2 loaves if you're careful placing them on there. A decent recipe, decent temperatures. So a lot of people use Dutch ovens also. That works
Hmm.
great too. Throw in a little bit of ice or ice water in the bottom of the oven. Be careful, don't throw it on the glass and crack the glass.
Ooh, no.
We cracked our glass, but I don't think it was related to water. It just was old. But getting a little steam at the start and then being able to do the proof in the basket. You can also overnight proof. So you start it out, you do your sourdough the first day, you make your bread, you let it go for an hour or so, you add your salt, get it activated, maybe let it go for an hour or two. And once it's kind of activated and going, you pop it in the fridge for overnight or almost a whole day or so, and it cold proofs, which will keep it more sour and more dense, and more. It will get more complex in a longer ferment. Some ways it's safer. I guess I found out some of the commercial bakeries, they're not allowed to do hot ferment, like leave it out all day long, because you have a slight chance
It's a bad bacteria
of
or
a
something.
bad bacteria. People call it vomitoxin, which is a
Mm.
common name for basically what it causes you to do. It's naturally found in
Yuck.
grain, especially in rye, but can be in wheat or a variety of things. If it's a fungus.
Mm.
Um, if that propagates as part of your sourdough starter and then your bread, it can give you mild discomfort to very
Not
high
good.
level. I don't think it'll kill you. It just makes you
Sick.
pretty unhappy. So the health department only allows cold. I found this out from our local
Mm.
bakeries. The cold slower ferment to retard that, but then you let it warm up just slightly and you cook it from a cold state. Gives you a slightly different loaf, but it's actually very good. Really good pizza dough is made that way too. You
Mm.
do a 1 to 3 day cold ferment to really mature and give complex flavor to your pizza dough.
Yeah.
So the really good places in New York and around, that really authentic will take their time, and people that make it in the morning and do it that night, which is a common other way, you don't get as good a pizza dough.
Yeah.
So proofing baskets, a basic stone, throwing a little ice, knowing how to do your hot or cold ferment are little things that all of a sudden turn into making bread that looks really killer and tastes amazing, and it's just little changes, and that's all you need to do. So,
Okay. Yeah. So, actually, Enriched Refuge said they have a rye barley starter dough,
well, barley's amazing, and that's what
sourdough starter.
Romans. So a lot of flour blends and good country blends have some barley. Barley, I love the flavor of barley. Um, so Roman and barley's cheaper than wheat, and of course, ancient time wheat was the hardest to grow. It's still a high intensity thing to grow and harvest, and so you can. So barley loaves in Greece and Rome were common, or barley and rye, and maybe they had some wheat and whatever else. So that's yeah. If you have some barley as part of a bread flour blend, and a lot of mills or bakers will have some barley in there, and they won't really tell you it's their blend. It's just come. But I'm a big fan of Yeah, and what I do is I do an all rye starter, but then that's about a 20% starter goes in. For the other 80%, um, you can pick. Do you use an unbleached bread flour? Do you add in, I've added in 50, 60% more rye, so it's like 80% rye with the starter portion of rye. But I will commonly put in whole wheat, or I will put in a blend of 1/3 whole wheat, 1/3 rye, 1/3 unbleached bread flour plus starter. And you could do a multigrain, pre-mixed multigrain of your own. And so that's how you can take the same starter and some similarities in flavor, and you can create a variety of different loaves.
Carrie at Built on Rock says that she's made baked gluten-free bread in the sun oven before, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
So you can use, you can use a bread machine. So a sourdough ferment will take, depending on the temperature in the house and your starter, can take anywhere from 6 or 8 hours up to almost 12 hours on the counter before it's ready. So one thing you can do is make your sourdough the night before. You can do your mix step in a bread machine, and you could even go through and the hard part is I like to add the salt after about an hour or so, because you want to activate that yeast and really make sure it's going good, because if you add in the salt too early, you have the potential to kill the yeast. It doesn't always happen, but you kill the yeast because you're not doing such an overabundance like putting dry yeast, which is a huge load of so that gives it time to be fed and really start to do good work. And then you add in your salt. Now you need the salt, one, for flavor. Bread with no salt tastes terrible, but also it helps retard yeast. So it slows down that fermentation, giving you some time for it to balance, get some smaller holes, and to develop the flavor. So, yeah, so getting the salt in not right away. And on the bread machine, a lot of time you put the salt on the top with the dry material, so it starts mixing and then it starts to integrate. You don't put it in the water, because if you salt the water in a bread machine, you can even kill the bread, even the traditional yeast on occasion. But yeah, you could go through the mix process or maybe some of the rising. The problem is the rise cycle on a bread machine is not nearly long enough to um, go through a natural starter, so you'd have to pop it out and finish the rising step in the baskets or whatever. But yeah.
Rich Ruffy said it's 1/3 of each rye, barley, and she mills, or they mill
That
their
sounds
own.
great.
Whole barley also.
Rye, that's
Including
us. I have a small mill that
unbleached
I
flour.
bought
Yeah.
cheap. It was an old mill, like the 80s, 70s, 80s, little home flour mills. I got it cheap from auction, and I haven't been able to have time to play with it, but I'd like to play with doing some of that. Right now, I buy organic rye commercially, and I have organic semolina flour and buckwheat. I've done some buckwheat loaves. Can't put a huge amount of buckwheat in because one gets a little bit strong, but also gets heavy. But 25%, 30% buckwheat is pretty nice. Um, and then I have unbleached. I have a real nice unbleached. It's not organic right now. High quality bread flour that I use for other things, and my ramen noodles primarily. It's a major ingredient. But I use that for our bread, and it does a nice job. It's a commercial bread flour, and I'm pretty happy with that. So we're like not always all organic, but near organic. But yeah, it'd be great if I could actually mill it and try working on that when things slow down a little bit. We have some local health food stores that do have a very large supply of flours, organic and otherwise, and they do have some grains. So yeah.
Well, I think this one has the right idea, and we should probably wrap up. And Helix decided my lap is a place to sleep now that I'm holding her up off my lap. But yeah.
Oh, and you can make, by the way, you can make about 2 loaves in a 5 or 6 quart KitchenAid. It will be stressing 2 pound loaves or 2 kilo loaves. You will be kind of stressing it a little bit if you don't have the heavier duty ones on 2 loaves. But that's the other way you can get 2 nice loaves if you just, even a basic KitchenAid, you don't have to go to something crazier than that.
Yeah. Miranda, we might be
dough
able to help you out with.
not a whip.
We might be able to help you with some of the
I can show you
steps.
how to make bread, Miranda, when you're around. I'm
Yeah.
probably making it tomorrow, but I might be making it Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
For the end of the week. But and we feed the store. Yeah, I'd be happy if you're interested to. I have a print off and show you the basic steps of making the bread. It takes a moment, but it's not that difficult.
Your mom has a question.
Oh yeah.
As a kid, I guess a neighbor used to make buckwheat pancakes that she thought was a luxury,
It
but
is a luxury.
they hated them. What makes buckwheat
So,
taste different?
well, so buckwheat's a primary Eastern European because it grows in poor soil and it grows
It grows
in
well out back here.
cold weather.
Yeah.
It grows well here. So Russian and and Scandinavian and stuff because they couldn't grow wheat, so they could grow other things. Buckwheat is not a wheat. It's a sort of a triangular grain. It's one of the most nutrient rich grains out there. Minerals and other. It's a really high quality, but it has a bitterness and an earthiness, and yeah, it's kind of strong. So buckwheat pancakes or buckwheat breads and things are very much part of Eastern Russian, some Jewish, Eastern Jewish baking and traditions. The pancakes are typically so buckwheat blinis with caviar is what is, and like creme fraiche or smoked salmon is a luxury thing that you'll see in fine restaurants, French restaurants, and country clubs and things will do that. It's actually a poor man's food. The blini itself is a poor man's, but when you put this other stuff on it, so you could put anything on it. They're typically just these little guys, but you can make nicer size ones. A typical blini is made, it's a yeast raised. So you do the yeast rise overnight, and then I think you mix in eggs in the morning before you cook it, or when you're ready to use it. So it's a yeast pancake, so you get the yeastiness and the savoriness. It's got a pinch of sugar. It's got some salt. It's got the earthy bitterness of the buckwheat. Now, it's not all buckwheat. It's like half or a third buckwheat. I think it's half my recipes. Joy Cooking has a decent recipe for blinis in it, the older ones at least. And I think it's half buckwheat. It works fine. I've used that one. And yeah, so it should be contrasting the super richness of sour cream or creme fraiche, smoked fish and things like that. And it is a little bit acquired, but I think when it's done properly, first of all, you make a proper pancake that rises and has good flavor, and then you add those rich things to it. I enjoy it. Yeah.
Okay, so
maybe not for breakfast with syrup. I'm not sure about that. Not so much.
And Rich Ruffy just gave us a video idea. Need bread making lessons. We should do a video.
Well,
and now it's going to be a multi-day.
We should see if Stefan has one already.
Stefan doesn't do videos.
That's true. He doesn't do. So we've got a recipe from him. I have done commercial bread classes. I'm not a bread baker, but I did take basic bread baking classes.
We could probably ask him if we can use.
I am using his starter and actually his protocol right now, which is based on a lot of other common industrial commercial.
He's on Instagram. He often posts on Instagram, but.
So I will give him credit for a lot of what the method we're using right now because it's just really clean cut and works well.
It's his starter. It's all by weight, right?
It's all done by grams, which is the way bread should be done ideally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he does a lot of people do a Dutch oven method. I have not done Dutch oven because I'm getting good results with my breadstone, but you can look up lots of videos all over YouTube and homesteaders on doing Dutch oven bread. You can either use a ceramic one that is high quality and oven proof, or you can use a steel one, a glazed steel one or ceramic. But yeah, so that's a method people love, but go to somebody else's shot for that. Plenty of people have done that. But we could look through working through doing some breads. Just simple. This is country French. It's peasant bread. This is truly peasant bread. But it's also what fine dining restaurants do around the world because it's so good. You can get fancy in the shape and the look, but when you're just talking about a good slicing bread, this is, to me, you can play with it, but it's about starting with a pre-ferment, which is a sourdough or some form of a ferment that's held over day to day or for a couple days, is the key to the quality of texture, crumb, chew, and the deep flavor in all high quality breads. We made all breads that way about 100 years ago. we kind of screwed it up, and the commercial breads are totally different. They're using quick yeast, but
Yeah.
the yeah, using a pre-ferment, however you want to do it, and hydrated and whatever is the way to amazing bread. It's not expensive and it's not particularly difficult.
And I think people are getting tired and going to
Yeah, I
bed.
think so
So
too. We're getting tired of going to bed.
yeah, so we
I
will
think I'm
have
gonna take a shower and scrub my legs off really good and to make sure I don't have any poison
poison
ivy
ivy.
on them.
Yeah, I don't. I've never had that problem, but yes.
I was wearing muck boots and zip-off shorts
Yeah.
in fairly heavy woods that was
Full
even
of it.
more poison ivy than usual.
Yes.
So
So,
yeah,
yeah. So we will be back the first weekend of August with live shows. I'll try to get a few videos up in between. Um,
got
I'm
good
guessing that,
food videos on Instagram. Or good food pictures.
yeah, we have a bunch
I
of
haven't
pictures
posted
on
as much as
Instagram.
we've actually been cooking, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you have any, I do have to go to work in the morning. Um, so, and you live at work. So, you pretty much work every day here. Um, well, you do deliveries and stuff too, of
Ooh,
course.
homemade
But
butter. Yeah, that works. That really helps the bread. We're using great olive oil from a partner that we sell.
yeah,
We found Costco of all places had Irish butter super on special last month, like $4 or $5 off. A 3 pounder or four, whatever their big batch. I'm sure it's because everything's screwed up in the EU and with Ireland and most of butter and cream imports into England, and then COVID that they're probably running heavy on Irish butter, which is pricey. So I don't buy that a lot. It's salted. I usually don't buy salted butter, but I've been putting some of that on the bread
it's
here,
good.
and yeah, and I like doing the olive oil, and we have homemade jam, but and that's not even homemade butter, but it's really good. At least it's a it's a grass fed
Yeah,
high quality butter. So
yep. So, yeah, nice to meet you too, Enriched Refuge. So we will definitely be back. We're doing this the first Sunday of every month at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless we have something crazy come up. Like today, we ran a little late coming home from foraging. We often will have pictures that we can run through as well. So if you want to join us on our next one, feel free.
we're only monthly right now due to so busy.
Yeah,
I don't
winter
know.
time, we'll see how
Winter we
things
might
go.
go back to every other week or go back to weekly like we've been doing for a long time, but
Yeah,
we need to focus on the garden and
garden and baby and business.
chickens, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
keeping all that moving too. So
yep. So we will see you next month. I hope everybody has a safe and healthy month. Um, first Sunday of August, we will be back here.
mhm.
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Good night.